Tonight, the City Council is expected to decide whether to hire an out-of-state firm to help tackle homelessness in San Antonio. We experienced a nice snap of fall weather today. Meteorologist Katie Blake will tell us how long we can expect it to last. And a little later in the show, we're exploring the genre of music that was a South Texas staple for years. Thanks for joining us for KSAT News at 9 from right here in the KSAT 12 newsroom. I'm Myra Arthur. The San Antonio City Council is taking steps to tackle homelessness in the Alamo City. Tomorrow, council members will vote on a contract with a consulting firm based in San Francisco that will be hired to create a comprehensive homeless strategic plan. A local professor in urban and regional planning tells our Tiffany Huertas for this to work, they must work closely with the community.
The South Alamo Regional Alliance for the Homeless reported that in 2018, there were more than 3,000 homeless people in San Antonio, Bexar County. This year, the number went down to nearly 2,900. The California company called Homebase could soon be hired to come up with a solution to the homeless population issue. An assistant professor at UTSA who studies urban planning says the plan must focus on transportation and housing.
And not only do we have particular issues with people on the verge of homelessness we can prevent from happening in the first place, but also so that we have an inclusive community where we have opportunities for people to be able to have safe and affordable homes throughout the community instead of just concentrating all of low-income housing in one area of the city.
Griffin says there are some disadvantages to hiring an outside company.
A clear potential disadvantage is losing track of local knowledge is very important. So we need to figure out ways where we have those strong connections with local networks that know what the homeless community in San Antonio is dealing with.
He believes there could be positives with going to a consultant that has dealt with its own challenges.
And certainly in the case of San Francisco, more housing shortage and affordability challenges than San Antonio has. So altogether, I think San Antonio is well positioned to take the opportunity to learn from what we're seeing right now and get some really great ideas to improve strategic planning in the city for the future as well.
If approved, the city could pay nearly $129,000. At least one council member is not sold on this. Earlier this month, District 10 Councilman Clayton Perry had his concerns because the company's from California. Today, he still feels the same. In a statement, he said, in part, quote, "We have a lot of faith in the efforts of the Department of Human Services and SAPD. They are working to not only find encampments, but also to make connections with homeless individuals and connect them with the appropriate care. They are closer to this issue than any outside firm could be." End quote.
Now, the assessment and the community plan is set to be complete by March 2020. Their ultimate goal, again, is to reduce homelessness. Myra?
Thank you, Tiffany. Happening next week, Steve Spreester will take a look at what life is like living homeless here in San Antonio. It's an issue that he first covered extensively back in 2005, and next Thursday he is revisiting that to see what's changed and what hasn't after the construction of Haven for Hope. This one-hour special, In the Shadows, will air on October 24th at 9 p.m. on KSAT 12. Not just one or two, but at least 14 inmates have been mistakenly released from the Bexar County Jail so far this year. The most recent inmate to be let go was 56-year-old Mitchell Boren, who was released yesterday and then found this morning. He was in custody on assault, bodily injury, and a Class A misdemeanor charge. Boren was supposed to be released to Haven for Hope.
If it's a packet of material, we need to be reading every last line on every last page and making double, triple sure of it before we let somebody walk out the door.
Sheriff Javier Salazar says BCSO is working on preventing this from happening again, like having a second supervisor sign off on paperwork, for example, as one of the safeguards. It's unknown who's responsible for this mistake or if that person will be facing any disciplinary action. To read about what happened in the other mistaken inmate releases at the jail, just go to KSAT.com and click on this story. An American woman and her dog killed on a faraway island. More than a dozen people killed in a confrontation between police and a group of armed men. And a religious tourist attraction is taking a stand against selfies. This is tonight's 9 at 9 here at home.
Joe and Bertha Garza are now preparing for the funeral of their eldest of 3 sons. Their 49-year-old son, Greg Garza, is the San Antonio firefighter who was killed yesterday in what's being described as an unfortunate accident.
The couple says they're grateful for the outpouring of support they've received.
I know he's gone, but I'm still, in a daze.
Garza died yesterday after he stumbled while getting out of a fire truck and was hit by a van. An American woman killed outside of her home on the Pacific island of Micronesia. Rochelle Bergeron and her dog were shot as they were returning home from a run. Her husband heard the gunshots and rushed Rochelle to the hospital where she was pronounced dead.
And right now there are no suspects named, and the FBI is joining local authorities in the investigation.
A man has been charged in connection with the discovery of a Dutch family who lived largely isolated from the outside world for 9 years. The man rented the farm where the father and his 6 children were found. Police were able to locate that family after one of its members visited a local bar and raised the alarm. A day after one of the San Antonio teens charged in a deadly shooting over a backpack accepted a plea deal, another teen charged is also weighing that option. Samuel Ayala was among the group that confronted Raymond Silva. He's facing murder charges.
Should Ayala reject a plea deal, prosecutors told the judge they're ready to go to trial. In all likelihood, that'll be early next month.
In Mexico, 14 civilians and 1 soldier dead as the result of a fight. The confrontation began after police responded to a 911 call about a group of armed men. Once they arrived there at the scene, the armed men allegedly attacked. A Utah State trooper rescues a stranded driver from train tracks just in time. That driver suffered some kind of medical condition and was unconscious in his car when the trooper found him. That trooper was able to drag the man out before an oncoming train pummeled his car. The Czech tourist destination known as the Church of Bones is dealing with an unusual problem. Church officials say they're dealing with a lot of people taking inappropriate selfies. The chapel's interior features the bones of nearly 60,000 skeletons discovered on that site. But starting in 2020, visitors who want to take snapshots will need to get permission from the parish 3 days ahead of time. A Florida state senator wants to ban some sunscreens that harm marine life. She's proposed a bill that would ban the sales of sunscreens with certain ingredients unless the customer has a prescription. The bill is reportedly getting pushback from other legislators and doctors. Nevada inmates are being taught to train wild horses and burros to help them deal with the anxieties of prison life. The animals are born in the wild and rounded up to be auctioned off, but not before they're saddle trained by inmates. To read more about these 9 stories, head to ksat.com/news at 9. Katie Blake is joining us tonight. We saw some great rain, even if it kept you up last night. It was nice to see and
really nice.
Wonderful temperatures after that.
And much needed as well. And today we were left with really fall-like weather. It was great. It was cool out there, not too cold, cloudy skies, really a great fall day for us here in South Texas after getting that beneficial rain late last night and early this morning. Time lapse from today, gray skies for really the duration of the day. Toward later evening hour sunset, you'll notice some color in the sky as some of that cloud cover started to break up off to the west. Our almanac a little deceiving. The high temperature of 75, that actually occurred in the 12 a.m. hour before that front rolled through and dropped our temperatures. The coolest we got today, 63. That's pretty comfortable. And about a ½ inch of rain after midnight. Add on another about 1/10 of an inch before midnight. We came up to about 6/10 of an inch of rain for this cool front event. Not too bad. Some folks got more than that, more than an inch of rain in spots. Here's a look at the latest drought monitor, updated every Thursday, and really what this is showing all of South Texas is very, very dry. We've even got pockets of extreme drought off to the west from Del Rio down to Eagle Pass, and even some pockets of extreme drought closer to us here in San Antonio in Bexar County. But yesterday's rain was fairly widespread. That's good. And some of the driest spots out across South Texas did get some rain late last night and early today. So we're always glad to see that. We'll take any rain we can get at this point. Overnight tonight, skies will be staying mostly cloudy. And as you are heading out the door in the morning, I'm going to go back to the pumpkin spice forecast because we can't miss that. I hit the wrong button. Here we go. Skies are going to stay mostly cloudy tonight, and as you head out in the morning, it's still going to be very cool out there. Temperatures will start off in the mid to upper 50s, so a great day for a warm coffee or maybe a PSL. You may even run into some showers or sprinkles early tomorrow morning as you're heading out the door, getting everybody on the road ready for work and school. Throughout the day tomorrow, we're going to see a little bit of clearing start to take shape really from west to east, and that'll be during the second half of the day. So overnight tonight, cloudy skies for everyone. Temperatures falling into the mid to upper 50s. Will carry about a 20% chance of a shower through early tomorrow morning. Then as we get into tomorrow afternoon, a passing upper level disturbance will kind of help to clear out the cloud cover slowly from west to east, such that we should see a little bit more sun during the second half of the day tomorrow as compared to today. Afternoon temperatures tomorrow will be in the 70s. We were in the 60s today, so feeling a little bit warmer by tomorrow afternoon, but really not too bad. The heat does not start to build back in until this coming weekend. We'll be in the 80s by Friday, still pretty comfortable, but higher humidity and afternoons in the low 90s by this weekend. But once again, it won't last very long. Our next front will be arriving late Sunday night, early Monday, with another chance of rain and another drop in our temperatures, Myra. So this is, we're so used to this. We cool off for about a day, heat back up, and then another cool front on the way. So we're definitely in that up and down season.
Yeah, at least the October heat doesn't last that long.
Exactly.
All right, thanks, Katie. Just a reminder, the San Antonio City Council is set to vote on the city's Climate Action and Adaptation Plan tomorrow. This vote is the result of nearly 2 years of work following the council's vote in June of 2017 to support the Paris Climate Agreement. The latest version of the plan includes 6 strategies to make San Antonio carbon neutral by the year 2050. Those strategies include increasing carbon-free energy and reducing transportation energy consumption. Missing from that plan, though, is an estimated price tag for each of those strategies. That is something that critics have pointed to time and again. Coming up after the break, RJ Marquez joining us tonight for a special portion of KSAT News at 9. We are exploring the rise and the fall of Tejano music and its influence on San Antonio. We'll be right back. Tonight we are doing something a little bit different here on the News at 9. We are carving out a section of this show to dedicate entirely to Tejano music. That has a special place here in San Antonio and for one of our very own as well, RJ Marquez. This is a project that you, RJ, decided to take on after you noticed that a local radio station switched up their format.
Yeah, so a little bit of background information first. I grew up in El Paso and often listened to Latin music, but Tejano was not as big there as it was here, obviously. I attended Texas State up the road and was really introduced to the world of Tejano by some of my closest friends who are from San Antonio and other parts of South Texas. I really came to appreciate the music and stories behind it.
So you are here to educate all of us. This is going to be an education for me as well. I did not grow up listening to it. I don't know a lot about the rise and the fall.
Yeah, so this was an interesting project. So something that I learned real quick, Myra, was that 107.5 FM, this was KXTN, was the Tejano staple. If you wanted to listen to Tejano music in the San Antonio area, that was the spot. And then it was just gone. It was reformatted, and I started to wonder, is Tejano music also going away? Do younger generations still listen to Tejano? And will it survive into this future of music apps and streaming services? So I sat down with some experts of the genre and learned a lot about the history and cultural impact of Tejano music.
And you are taking us all the way back to the beginning.
That's where we got to start, right? The beginning, yes. I had the chance to sit down with a man named Ramon Hernandez. He is an archivist and Latin musicologist. He's also written music columns for different publications, including the Express News. He's basically just has a wealth of knowledge, and he broke down the history and roots of Tejano music for us. Ramon Hernandez describes Tejano as a big tent genre of music.
a genre that can't be pigeonholed into one niche, one that's inextricably linked to other styles and sounds created by Mexican Americans. He traces its roots back more than 100 years ago in the 1910s when Mexican Americans were introduced to the accordion.
That started when the Germans came to Texas to pick cotton. The Mexican Americans and the Germans were picking cotton. At the end of the day, they would break out the accordions and they would have like a little jam session. And that's what brought all the cotton pickers or sharecroppers and people together in the evening.
With the introduction of the accordion came Mexican polkas and ranchera. The addition of an acoustic guitar or violin made it a conjunto. By the 1920s, Mexican-American orchestras began popping up all over Texas. These orchestras were made up of a variety of instruments: guitars, violins, sometimes a banjo, trumpets, saxophones, perhaps a flute. In the late 1920s, microphones marked a change in the music industry in general, allowing singers to perform without straining their voices. Mexican-American conjuntos and orchestras evolved side by side for decades, influenced not only by changes in the types of instruments available to them, but also by pop culture in general.
We are influenced by what was playing on American radio or what they saw in the movies. So we kind of emulated what was going there.
Music continued to evolve in 1948 when Fender mass-produced the first electric guitar, and in 1951, Fender developed the precision electric bass.
All of a sudden, they didn't need the upright bass, the tololoche, the contrabajo.
In 1954, Isidro Lopez records a song that sets Mexican-American music in a new direction. That song was called Díganle. It becomes a hit and is recorded again and again throughout the years.
Therefore, he's considered the father of Tejano music.
It was around this same time that a lot was going on in the Mexican-American music scene at once. There were Chicano conjuntos, country artists, bebop and doo-wop groups, plus Chicano rock and roll. The mid-60s marked the introduction of the compact farfisa organ. The use of the organ helped catapult the song Wooly Bully by Sam the Shams to immense popularity. In 1979, the Oberheim synthesizer hit the market, signaling a major turning point in Tejano music.
Okay, so we just got a sample of the instruments that make that unique sound that we all associate with Tejano. So you're also going to give us a closer look at how a Tejano song is formed.
Yeah, so this was a lot of fun right here. There's a lot that goes into creating the Tejano song that get people moving all over the place. This was something we wanted to explore. Producer Lexi Salazar, editor Valerie Gomez, and digital producer Andrew Wilson sat down with Alvaro del Norte, a local musician, who explained what goes into it. They take a deep dive into the anatomy of a Tejano song.
1, 2, 3. Tejano music is based off of conjunto music, you know, and that's how a lot of accordion. And Tejano, you know, they really made the sound a lot bigger versus like conjunto music. They introduced the saxophone, some of them a full band of horns, the keyboard. You'll notice in the 80s and 90s of Tejano music, you know, like in Selena music, you'll hear the synthesizers. It's a bigger sound, more complex sound, more mature sound, but always behind it, it's always a very catchy melody. First thing is, you know, in music, there are no rules. There absolutely are no rules. But in Tejano, primarily, you have the drums and the bass. You know, they're providing that rhythm that makes you want to dance. If you ever been down to Fiesta or any other Tejano shows, you're gonna feel that pulse from the kick drum and the bass is boom, 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 boom. I remember growing up, going to these events and just feeling that vibration like going through me, like, wow, you know. Keyboards are gonna give you melody or just chords. Sometimes if it's accordion in the band and keyboard, sometimes they go back and forth. But yeah, a lot of melody, I'd say. But in Tejano though, you get introduced the electric guitar. There you get more bluesy, more rock stuff and their jazzy stuff. They're doing rhythm, you know, a lot of times, but at the same time, they'll come out with a lead here and there. The accordion is all melody primarily. It gives Tejano its very unique flavor. Back in the day, like actually, before Tejano started, the bass was doing its... So this side was doing all the rhythm, and this side's doing all the melody. Once they got more members in the band, of course, the accordion just stuck to doing melody. Like in metal music, it's like the lead guitar, you know? And you can even see people like rocking out, like, you know, to Tejano music, you know, they're doing like the air accordion, you know, they're doing that, you know, just like you would air guitar.
That accordion, that's the signature.
Yeah, the air accordion. That's
the air
awesome.
accordion. I know, I don't think I've seen that before, but that's what seems to get everybody going.
Yeah, absolutely.
I do know this, Tejano music had its very own golden age, like a lot of genres, right? Early 80s, mid 90s, a special time for Tejano music in San Antonio and South
Absolutely,
Texas.
Myra. Yes, anyone who was in San Antonio and lived through this Tejano boom will tell you there was no better time for the music. I spoke to Hector Saldana and Johnny Ramirez about the era. Hector is a former Express News music columnist who currently serves as the Texas music curator at the Whitliff Collections at Texas State. Johnny was a DJ at KXTN. Both said it was a magical time to be a part of the industry.
Well, when you think about Tejano, the golden age really was 1985 to 1995.
We all know and remember the names: Little Joey La Familia, Grupo Más, Laura Canales, and La Mafia. These are just a few of the musical acts that were part of the Tejano movement that swept through San Antonio and South Texas in the early 80s.
What I remember was just the excitement of this new wave. You know, they would call it La Onda Chicana, the wave, or La Onda Tejana.
These acts that were part of the Texas wave played to packed dance halls and concert venues. Tejano music blended with other types of music, but there was a key ingredient missing that took it to new heights: the accordion. When the synthesizer hit the market in the late 1970s, it largely replaced the accordion, but two Tejano staples helped bring it back to prominence.
The two people who changed this is Roberto Pulido and David Lee Garza. The mastery of David Lee Garza, the way he played, everybody wanted, you know, him to back up their band and recordings.
Those acts were also springboards to the next generation of performers that included some of the biggest names in the industry: Emilio Navaira, Jay Perez, Ram Herrera, and Selena Quintanilla. San Antonio was at the epicenter of Tejano music, but it was also being played and listened to across the state.
In a sense, San Antonio was like the London of Tejano. You had to go to the big city. That was where you're going to make it.
Johnny Ramirez, a longtime DJ and voice at KXTN, describes the era.
The 90s was the best because we had all this, we had our solid core, but then we had all the bandwagoners. And that's what really blew up Tejano.
KXTN.
Ramirez said Tejano music at the time transcended race, age, background, and social status.
We had Anglo people that would go to our events. We had African American people. They all came to the party, and the party got really, really big.
But at the core of the party was always family. Every weekend you could hear the music coming from homes, cars on the street, from bazaars, and neighborhood fairs.
People that were older and younger related, and often the concerts were more like dances. So it was very communal in that sense.
From Selena to Emilio to Jay Perez and David Lee, that era of Tejano music left memories that would last a lifetime.
It was an exciting time, and it left a lot of people that came to the party as bandwagoners. It left an impression on them that they still listen to this day.
I think whether you grew up with it or not, if you live in San Antonio, you have a great memory associated with Tejano music. But you were exploring tonight in this segment about how something changed over the past couple of decades.
Yeah, Myra, I mentioned earlier, I really began to notice the change in April when 107.5 FM stopped broadcasting KXTN, but things were actually changing before this year. In fact, back in 2011, the National Academy of Recording Arts and Sciences eliminated 31 categories at the Grammy Awards. One of them was Tejano, so we just wanted to know what happened.
Well, the obvious one is the death of Selena, but that's too simple of a transition period. Even she was trying to move into the mainstream market.
Saldana says at the time of Selena's death in 1995, she had just about finished her English debut album, and it was also around this time that Emilio Navaira released his first country single.
It was always a regional genre that got a big boost because of stars like Emilio and Selena.
I think, unfortunately, yeah, it's not as vibrant as it used to be.
The problem is radio airplay, the lack of radio airplay.
Hernandez says there are still talented Tejano musicians out there, and as a music writer, he gets about 10 CDs a month.
A lot of it is superb, and it saddens me, it hurts me that they're not playing it. That's what they need. They need that exposure.
Another thing that's impacted the industry, technology.
Tejano was slow to get into the game of musical downloads and streaming.
Saldana says that the Tejano music industry simultaneously had to deal with decreasing radio support, fewer venues for live shows, and a sluggishness to adapt.
Tejanos, to some extent, are still kind of old school. At least the older Tejanos, they still want a CD, they still want something in their hand that they can take back home and play.
It had to deal with what happens with any pop music genre, which is that it's dominated by younger artists. And so you had older, more male-dominated acts sort of representing what Tejano was. And it probably needed to change in the way that country music changed.
Big parties, they kind of fade away. And the record labels, the majors came in, they made their money, and then they just left.
Still, the people we spoke to seem to view what's happened to Tejano music as more of an evolution than an extinction.
So Tejano sort of exists now, but it's evolved into more of an international sound, more of a dance-oriented, Miami-centric, New York-centric sound.
It's like saying that country music is going to die in Nashville. You know, it's not going to happen.
It's still around. You just may not recognize it quite as Tejano, but the roots are still there.
As you heard, the golden age of Tejano is over, but there is still an effort in South Texas to keep the history alive. A man you've heard from a lot tonight is actually helping out with this. About a year ago, Ramon Hernandez donated one of the largest known collections of Tejano music artifacts to Texas State University's Whitliff Collections.
This history needs to be preserved, and it needs to be on the same level of Willie Nelson, Jerry Jeff Walker, and all the other artists that most people just think of Texas music.
You can see more at the Whitliff Collections on the campus of Texas State University. So where does Tejano music go from here? We've heard a lot about its most popular days to some of the decline, but true to its nature, the music has stood the test of time, going back nearly a century. The roots of Tejano run deep in South Texas. We examine the cultural impact the music has had in San Antonio.
In its simplest form, Tejano in Spanish simply means Texan. When you think about the impact of Tejano music, it's a sense of pride for San Antonio residents.
Orgullo. I mean, just like goosebumps.
To me, hearing the music, it brings back a lot of memories. It's good for our city, the culture, and I think that, we need more people listening to Tejano music.
Those songs really are like our songs. They really are our songs. Like, we created them.
Tejano music has become a part of family life across South Texas, a familiar constant.
It's not just a music genre. It's always been a part of our tradition, a part of our culture, and a part of who we are as a people.
It seems like at every big event, every important event, at weddings, quinceañeras, funerals even, a backyard barbecue, they'll be playing Tejano.
Many people believe Tejano music is past its prime, but there are still venues across San Antonio playing live Tejano music to crowds every weekend. One thing that you definitely cannot deny is that Tejano music is part of the culture and the soul of San Antonio. It gets people moving anywhere they go to listen to it, or people that get to play to it. It is part of the generational hold on this city.
I've grown up with it since, birth, so it's just been something I've always enjoyed. It's my culture.
There's a lot of school programs that teach accordion, that teach mariachi music, even at the college level. So you do have avenues for young people to get into music, and then if they want to do Tejano, start their own group, they can do it.
And there are signs that's exactly what new Tejano artists are doing. An example of this, a group called Signo recently remade the popular song Despacito. Making it their own by infusing old school Tejano with new sounds.
They just did it last year, and again, here we have a South American flavor with a Tejano twist. So we have to accept it. We have to go along with the times.
Tejano music is never going to die. Will it reach the peaks of the early to mid 90s? I don't know. I'm thinking that it will eventually, and I hope to still be around for that.
With a decline in radio support, many say it's essential for the older generations to pass down the Tejano tradition and tell their children and grandchildren what the music means and represents.
As Mexican Americans, Tejanos, whether you're first, second, third, fourth generation, I think it's upon us to instill the music to our youngsters. I think that if they love hip hop, great. Whatever format is out there, rock and roll or independent rock or whatever they want to call it, it's great. I mean, music was made to be loved. But every so often sit them down and say, this is what we're about. This is our music.
You may not hear it on the radio as much, but you know in San Antonio and South Texas, that is going to stay around.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's one of the biggest things that I kind of took from meeting with these individuals and just doing several of these stories is that no matter what, it's just going to be around for years and years to come. I think it is important for us to sort of pass some of those traditions down because, as many people just said, it is San Antonio. That is our culture, and so we need to definitely be proud and representative of it.
And I appreciate you educating me as well as a lot of other people out here tonight about the history, the impact, and its future.
Oh yeah,
whatever
absolutely.
that may look like in South Texas.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to put together, and we had some great help from the people we interviewed, and also our crew here. Again, producer Lexi, Andrew, digital producer, and Valerie put together those pieces. So awesome
and it was
stuff
just
there.
fun to listen to.
Yeah, that too.
Thanks, RJ.
Yeah, thank you, Myra.
We'll be right back.
Even if you didn't get to see today's pollen count until now, you probably felt it. Last night's rain sent our mold count through the roof. It was very high today, over 15,000. Thankfully, low counts of ragweed. Mold counts should begin to fall a little bit as we head into the day on Thursday, but it could still be a little bit elevated. We send that pollen count out first thing in the morning. You can get it via the KSAT weather app or head to ksat.com/weather.
Let's turn now to some of tonight's top stories. A new study says that vaping just twice a day for a month can lead to small lung inflammation. That inflammation is linked to two liquids contained in e-cigarettes, propylene glycol and glycerin. After 5 weeks, General Motors has finally reached a deal to end a strike by 50,000 of its workers. The tentative agreement was announced by negotiators this afternoon. Back in September, employees walked off the job protesting their pay, benefits, and treatment of temporary workers. The strike lasted 31 days and cost GM about $1.5 billion in profits. Because we know you missed him, RJ Marquez is back with what is trending tonight on KSAT.com.
Yeah, long time no see, Myra.
I know.
Yeah. So
getting a workout in this show.
Yeah, absolutely. Getting the money's worth today. So yes, we've had a busy day on our website, and one of the most popular stories that we've seen today is this treat map that has been launched by Nextdoor. So this is pretty cool. This is actually kind of going to help parents sort of navigate when they take their kids out for trick-or-treating, see what houses are giving out treats and what houses are also haunted houses too. So this is pretty cool.
So is this something that neighbors have to submit their house or say, hey, I will be giving out candy, or no, I won't, or something like that?
Yeah, based on, I don't use Nextdoor that much, but based on what I've been reading and seeing, like, yeah, people will actually say on Nextdoor, we're going to be giving out candy here and there. Yeah, so this is going to be pretty cool. It's a good way for parents to just kind of figure out, you know, which way they're going to go or what house they maybe want to visit for trick-or-treating.
There's always the houses that turn off the front porch light, act like nobody's home, you know, so that'll help you skip those.
Yeah, I'm the opposite. I always have candy, and there's never enough kids that I end up just eating them.
So, one for you, one for me. Yeah.
There you go. Okay, so you can check that story out on our website. Okay, moving on here. This is a pretty cool story that's gotten a lot of attention on social media. Of course, the Astros are in the middle of the American League Championship Series. Well, there's a photo circulating of former Astros Hall of Famer Craig Biggio, who photobombed a kid at Game 2 of the Astros game.
Kids sleeping.
Yeah, kids sleeping. And I don't blame this kid. This game 2, went into like midnight.
Yes, it did. My husband was watching it. Yeah, I was long gone at that point.
Yeah, I think at one point I was watching, fell asleep, woke up, and then saw the end of it. So it was pretty. Yeah, it was pretty late.
That's what my husband did as well. He said he dozed, and then he'd wake up and he'd check. And were there extra innings or something?
11 innings, yeah. It went late into the night, so this poor kid fell asleep.
Yeah, buddy, I don't blame you.
Yeah, it's funny because a gentleman who posted this on Facebook said, I wonder if this kid knows that he got a photo with a Hall of Famer with him there. So
now he does.
Pretty cool stuff there. Yeah, you can check out this story on our website. All right, last one here. This is pretty cool. I don't think I have been excited about something that the Postal Service has been done. It's done.
What?
For some time, yeah. They unveiled a T-Rex Forever stamp today at the Whitty Museum.
Oh,
so
very cool.
Yeah.
What a perfect place for it, right?
It made perfect sense, yeah. So they unveiled this Forever stamp. There are different versions of it. So people that are stamp collectors or maybe just want to, check this out, yeah, you could go to your post office and check out this T-Rex stamp. Do you have a favorite dinosaur?
I always like the Brontosaurus. You know, when you picked a report that you had to do a dinosaur on in elementary school, that was my go-to.
Yeah, Stegosaurus, Triceratops, those are always some good ones. Yeah. So if you want to check out the full video, head to KSAT.com.
All right, thanks, RJ.
All right, thank you, Myra.
We'll be right back.
This is your daily tech and business briefing from Cheddar. Well, Boeing is pinning its hopes for its ultra long-haul 777 plane on Australian national carrier Qantas, which is deciding whether to put an order in for the new planes to serve its Sydney to London route. Qantas' decision is critical to Boeing and will essentially determine the manufacturing production timeline. And the UK is launching a formal antitrust probe into Amazon's investment in Deliveroo. This after the e-commerce giant led a $575 million of funding into the UK-based food delivery startup. The investment set off alarm bells among British antitrust regulators who ordered Amazon and Deliveroo to pause any integration efforts. And Medicare open enrollment for 2020 is getting underway this week, offering more plans and services than before to cope with the 10,000 baby boomers aging into the program every day. Medicare is now the fastest growing healthcare market segment, with fierce competition for offering seniors the best plans tailored to their needs. Enrollment in Medicare Advantage plans is growing by 8% every year. And that's your Cheddar Business and Tech Update. I'm Kristen Scholler from the floor of the New York Stock Exchange.
Thanks for watching KSAT News at 9. That's all our time tonight. I'm Myra Arthur. We'll see you next time. Good night.